Hi, I'm Kelly Monaco. I'm currently unemployed, so I created this channel to earn some extra income. I'll be updating you with the latest news about the Drama General Hospital.
Hello and welcome back. Now we'll talk about what happened on Friday, April 10th. In the latest wave of chaos in Port Charles, the story is no longer driven by one single crime, one single enemy, or one single emotional wound. Everything is starting to overlap. Marco's shooting has become more than a mystery because Sonny now sees it as the beginning of a much larger collapse, especially with Sidwell already spiraling in grief and fury after the funeral. Recent spoilers point to Sonny urgently pushing Rick to help identify the shooter because he fears the truth must come out quickly before Sidwell turns his rage into open war. At the same time, Carly has been pulled into a tense confrontation of her own. Nina is facing another impossible line in the sand where Willow is concerned. Molly has undergone surgery with Cody by her side. And Laura is stepping into the aftermath of the crash that leaves Jordan in critical condition, and Curtis emotionally shattered. What makes Sonny's demand to Rick so compelling is that it is not just about justice. It is about control. Sonny has spent too many years surviving enemies, betrayals, and bloodshed to believe that uncertainty is harmless. To him, uncertainty is the most dangerous condition of all because it gives grief room to mutate into vengeance and gives rivals room to rewrite reality before he can stop them. Sidwell's rage after Marco's funeral has already made it clear that emotions are now running ahead of reason, and Sonny understands exactly what that means. If the identity of the shooter remains hidden, then rumors will take over, blame will spread in the wrong direction, and one funeral could become the spark that sets off a much larger war. That is why Sonny's request to Rick feels so obsessive. He is not simply trying to solve a crime. He is trying to stop Port Charles from descending into a cycle of retaliation before the next body falls. Recent spoiler coverage has emphasized Sonny's push for immediate action and Sidwell's explosive anger, which makes Sonny's urgency feel less like paranoia and more like a desperate attempt to stay ahead of a disaster already in motion. Rick, however, is being drawn into a familiar and dangerous position because every answer Sonny wants may come with consequences no one can contain. Rick understands better than most that truth in Port Charles rarely brings peace. Sometimes it only gives pain a clearer direction. If he uncovers the shooter, he may hand Sonny the proof he wants, but he may also hand him the excuse to escalate. If he fails, then Sidwell's grief may keep growing until it poisons everything around it. This is what makes Sonny's pressure so heavy. He is not asking Rick to do a simple favor. He is asking him to stand between law and revenge and somehow produce a result that will calm both. That is almost impossible in a town where every truth arrives already soaked in resentment. Sonny's obsession, then, becomes the emotional engine behind this part of the story. He cannot afford confusion. He cannot afford delay. And most of all, he cannot afford to look powerless at the exact moment when his enemies are watching for weakness. Carly, meanwhile, is proving once again that she has no intention of standing quietly at the edge of anyone else's crisis. The latest spoilers indicate that she confronts Valentine with hard questions while the crash fallout intensifies, and that says everything about the role Carly is stepping into now. Carly never waits comfortably for answers. She attacks the silence around them. That quality makes her both powerful and dangerous, because when she senses that something is wrong, she does not soothe herself with patience. She presses harder. In a town filled with men who believe strategy belongs to them, Carly remains one of the few people who can turn instinct into direct pressure and make others flinch. Her confrontation matters because it reflects the deeper emotional climate of the story. She can feel that too many things are being hidden, too many people are maneuvering in the dark, and too many lives are being placed at risk while others pretend they still have time. Carly's anger is not random. It comes from the fear that she has seen this pattern before, when secrets were allowed to breathe too long and the damage multiplied before anyone stopped it. So her refusal to back down is not just attitude, it is survival. That same atmosphere of survival is shaping Nina in a more private but equally intense way. Spoilers for early April point to Curtis warning Nina as she faces an impossible choice involving Willow, while other reports continue to frame Sidwell as a destabilizing force around the people she most wants to protect. Nina's decision to draw a line with Sidwell matters because she is no longer merely reacting as a woman with regrets. She is reacting like a mother who knows she has already made too many mistakes where Willow is concerned and may not survive another one emotionally. That is what gives her storyline real tension. Nina is not just protecting Willow from outside danger. She is also trying to protect her relationship with Willow from her own worst instincts. Fear has always been Nina's weakness. When she becomes afraid of losing someone, she can become controlling, impulsive, and destructive without meaning to. Now, with Sidwell's influence hanging over the canvas and Willow once again placed in danger's orbit, Nina is being forced into another test of whether love can guide her without turning into obsession. Her boundary with Sidwell is powerful precisely because it feels fragile. She is trying to do the right thing, but she knows how easily desperation can make the wrong thing look necessary. That is why Curtis's involvement in Nina's story matters so much. Before the crash turned his own world upside down, spoilers had already positioned him in a scene warning Nina to be careful what she wished for. In soap opera language, that kind of warning is never casual. It suggests that the very thing Nina thinks will save Willow could create a new emotional catastrophe instead. Curtis has always had a sharp eye for the hidden cost of choices, and in Nina's case, he seems to recognize that wanting control over a dangerous situation is not the same as being able to handle what that control will demand. Nina's obsession is therefore becoming more layered. She is frightened of Sidwell, frightened for Willow, and frightened of herself. That triad makes her one of the most emotionally exposed figures in this current material, because every move she makes now has the potential to either bring Willow closer or push her away forever. Then there is Cody, whose love for Molly introduces a very different kind of intensity into the story. Soap Hub's recent update confirms that Molly underwent surgery and woke to find Cody by her side. On paper, it is a gentle beat in the middle of larger chaos, but emotionally it means much more than that. Cody's devotion to Molly shows that even in a city ruled by violence and manipulation, tenderness can still become one of the most powerful forces on screen. But this is not simple romance. Molly's medical struggle and emotional vulnerability make Cody's presence more significant because he is not offering dramatic declarations. He is offering steadiness. In Port Charles, that can be rarer than heroics. Cody's love matters because it asks Molly to accept care at a moment when she is physically exposed and emotionally exhausted. It gives her a kind of support that does not solve every problem, but changes the emotional temperature around them. His affection is not flashy. It is loyal. It is watchful. It is the kind of love that becomes most visible in hospital rooms, in waiting, in silence, in staying. That is what makes it resonate. Molly's side of that connection is just as important. A woman like Molly is used to handling pain with discipline, logic, and self-control. Being forced into surgery and recovery strips some of that armor away. Cody being there means she cannot completely retreat into independence. She has to feel what it means to be cared for. That is why their dynamic adds depth to the broader story. While Sunny, Carly, and Nina are all trying to seize control of dangerous situations, Cody represents a quieter kind of courage. The courage to remain present for someone when there is nothing dramatic to fix. His love does not erase Molly's struggle, it makes it more human. And in a show where so much emotion is wrapped in schemes and suspicions, that humanity becomes its own source of dramatic weight. Laura's material with Curtis may be the most devastating thread of all because it pulls the story out of strategy and back into raw human consequence. Current spoilers say Laura seeks out Curtis regarding the crash, while Jordan is left in critical condition after the accident. That combination immediately raises the emotional stakes. Laura is not stepping into this as a detached mayor dealing with another crisis. She is stepping in as someone who understands that every public tragedy in Port Charles becomes personal the moment you look directly at the people left waiting for answers. Curtis is now trapped in the kind of emotional limbo that is often crueler than immediate grief. He cannot breathe easily, cannot think clearly, cannot move forward because Jordan's fate is suspended in that terrifying space between hope and devastation. The crash does not just threaten Jordan's life, it destroys Curtis's sense of stability. One moment of joy, one car ride, one ordinary stretch of road, and suddenly everything becomes fragile. That is the horror of it. Laura meeting with Curtis makes the aftermath even more painful because she represents the outside world trying to reach someone whose entire inner world has collapsed. She may want facts, she may want clarity. She may want to understand whether the accident was random or whether it connects to the wider danger already moving through Port Charles. But before any of that, she has to stand in front of Curtis's pain. She has to face the possibility that no matter what she says, it will not be enough. That is the tragedy of Laura's role. She is one of the few people in town who still tries to lead with compassion, but compassion cannot undo impact. It cannot restore the seconds before disaster. It cannot guarantee that Jordan will survive. And because Jordan is in critical condition, every question Laura asks may feel to Curtis like another reminder that life has already been split into before and after. Recent reports have also tied the crash to a broader atmosphere of fear involving Curtis, Jordan, Carly, and Valentine, all circling the same night of chaos, which only deepens the sense that this accident may not stay an isolated tragedy for long. Taken together, these beats create a General Hospital canvas driven by obsession in different forms. Sunny's obsession is with truth before war begins. Carly's obsession is with confronting danger before it can corner her. Nina's obsession is with saving Willow without once again becoming the reason Willow suffers. Cody's obsession, in the best possible sense, is simply with staying loyal to Molly when she needs him most. Laura's burden is not obsession exactly, but endurance, the painful effort of trying to hold together people and institutions while chaos keeps breaking through. And Curtis now stands at the emotional center of the wreckage, a man whose fear for Jordan may end up changing the direction of everything around him. That is why this material works. It is not just a collection of spoilers. It is a portrait of Port Charles at the exact moment when private love and public crisis begin to bleed into each other. Marco's shooting, Sidwell's rage, Carly's confrontation, Nina's warning, Molly's recovery, and Jordan's critical condition all feed the same storm. Everyone is trying to protect someone. Everyone is trying not to lose control. And in true General Hospital fashion, that desperate need to hold on may be the very thing that drives the next tragedy.
I'll be back at the General Hospital soon. We'll see each other again soon. Thank you for supporting my channel. Goodbye and see you again.